Anders, would you like to come with the first word here? 5 minutes.
As you know, all of you, Katherine yesterday delivered a big report about how to turn Denmark into a CO2-free nation, probably the first in the world. I think it's a very well done job you have done. I agree, my company, we agree to almost everything you have made in this report. The general line in it is that we should turn our economies to electricity in the future, use electricity for heating, use it for transportation. So a much more electrified future is foreseen in the report. I think it's right, but of course then it is crucial that the way we produce the electricity is clean. If we can manage that, then we have come far. So that is the good news. The way to deliver this electricity, the clean electricity and in sufficient amounts, that is to use the wind, to use biomass, and I would say for at least a number of years also to use gas. What can we do in Dong Energy in that direction? We have already, I'm sorry to say, Katherine, but already before you came with your report, we have decided to go that direction, and we have taken many steps in that direction. Let me mention just 2 or 3 numbers. Take 2008. Take 5 years later, 2013. How much can you do within 5 years? Normally you would say not very much. But who says we should do it normally? So the plan we have within these 5 years is that we will reduce to half our consumption of coal within 5 years. We will double our consumption of biomass, and by doing that, we will reduce to half our pollution for CO2 within 5 years. Does it mean anything? Well, compared to reduce to half, we are the biggest CO2 polluter in Denmark, so it is of some significance for this country that we can reduce that to half. It means that within 5 years we can reduce the total Danish CO2 emissions by 10%. So not insignificant. So of course this is a long-term journey, but even in the shorter run we can do a lot. We have to set milestones, we have to be held accountable that we follow our plans, and if I should give one comment to the report from yesterday, I think it was, as mentioned, it was a brilliant report, but I think in implementing the report, we need to set milestones. What will we do next year? What will we do in 2 years' time? It's necessary and it's very good to have a target for 2050, but it's not enough. We must have short-term milestones so that we are sure that we are on the road. Will it be very costly? Probably it will in the shorter run cost something, as also already mentioned. But there has been another very interesting report recently talking about the offshore wind. And my company, we are the number 1 in the world on offshore wind, so I will take that up. Today, offshore wind is much more expensive than, for instance, producing electricity from a coal-fired power plant. Therefore, somebody argue, why take the expensive solution when there is a more cheap one, the traditional one? This very interesting study, which a Danish government authority called Energinet DK published 10 days back, this report said, well, that's the situation on the short run. Why not have a look on the long-term lane? If we look upon this 40 years ahead, how are the numbers developing? And the very surprising and interesting story is that when you take the long-term point of view, then even offshore wind becomes more cheap than the traditional production. Why is that so? For very evident reasons, namely that if we use coal or gas or biomass for that sake, if we use the traditional fuels, due to the increase in the population, due to the scarcity of the fossil fuels in the future, prices will go up on fossil fuels going 30, 40 years ahead. All estimates, all forecasts tells us that. So if you compare a coal-fired plant and an offshore wind turbine park, then in the short run, the offshore turbine park is more expensive, but seen over the full 30, 40 year timeline, then it shows up at the end that the offshore wind park is a cheaper way of looking upon it. So we should not take the short time horizon, we should take the long term horizon, and in that perspective, even though we don't have the decisions from the Copenhagen last year, even though that's not the case, it's still good economics to go the green way instead of going the traditional way. And it is our target to inspire and to make this happen in the absence of this overall agreement. Then it is our target here, and I hope we can develop this in this forum, to find out the arguments and the reasoning that it's when we put the right perspective on things, then in many places the green solutions are, of course, the better ones, but in many places also the cheaper ones. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Anders. I took two things here and now we should be doing. We should be producing clean electricity, and we should be setting milestones. I'm unclear about who's supposed to do the milestones, so you'll come back to that later in the discussion.